It is an absolutely picture-perfect day here in Goodyear, Arizona. Not a cloud in the sky as the Indians and the Cincinnati Reds tee it up for the second straight day. Cactus League action underway here in the desert. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. So excited to be back on the air. Game 2 of the spring season for the Cleveland Indians. And excited to get a look at Francisco Lindor. 4 years ago, the Indians spent a first-round draft pick on this young man, and everybody's been wondering ever since, how long is it going to be until we see him in the big leagues?
What they don't realize, he's still just 21 years old, and this guy right now is ready at the big league level defensively. He can make all the plays. I think Ramirez had a good second half, so he's going to get the first look this year, but Lindor is not far away. When you look at the numbers, he has just about 1,500 at-bats, and that's exactly about what they look for until you're ready for major league level. You may see him this year, but he is not far away. He usually stands out amongst anybody that's on the field.
Rick, Terry Francona told me we don't develop guys just to get to the big league level. We develop them so that they can get here and help the team win. And as soon as that time is deemed ready, we'll see Francisco Lindor in the big leagues. In the meantime, sit back and enjoy some spring training baseball. It's the Tribe and the Reds, and the first pitch is coming up next. Here as Josh Tomlin is on the hill this afternoon for Cleveland. Billy Hamilton in the leadoff spot, the speedster for Cincinnati. Low and away. Josh last year went 6-9. He made 16 starts for the Indians. Overall, a 4.76 ERA.
And some things never change. Josh Tomlin wants to start as soon as he's ready, and he always is ready early.
The clock just now is at 1:03 here in Goodyear. This game was scheduled to start at 1:05, which tells you nobody on the field's paying attention to that. Hamilton drives one to deep right field. Ryan Rayburn chasing back. He's looking up. It is gone. Billy Hamilton drives it out of here for a leadoff solo homer. There is a breeze blowing out today, which should give the ball a little extra boost, as if it needs any extra boost in the thin air here in Arizona. But Hamilton puts a jolt into that pitch, and the Reds will play from in front.
Yeah, that ball right down the middle, and the slap hitter put a good swing on this ball, and it carried to right center field around a 380 mark to get out of the ballpark. So a leadoff home run, and Cincinnati takes a 1-0 lead.
And Skip Shoemaker sends one to the gap in left center field. That'll get down. Bourne cuts it off. And into second base with a double is Skip Shoemaker. Let's get you the rest of the Cincinnati Reds lineup. After Hamilton and Shoemaker, you've got right-handed hitting Todd Frazier, then Chris Dominguez. Brennan Bosch, the former Tiger, bats fifth. Brian Pena sixth. Zach Cozart, Christopher Negron, and Tucker Barnhart rounded out.
Well, Josh Tomlin on the mound, and as you said, he made 16 starts for the Indians last year. He was up and down. Out of his 25 appearances, a 6-9 record, just 104 innings after coming off the surgery. Gave up 18 home runs last year, and the leadoff man this spring hit one off him to start this game.
This is outside ball one to Todd Frazier. And Josh said he really didn't have any lingering doubts or issues with the elbow once he came back from the surgery last year. He said he got past most of that in spring training early on in the year. Frazier lifts it to center. Bourne over toward right center field, able to make the catch. Shoemaker will tag and go to third, one away. I think for Josh, though, Rick, more than anything, it's trying to get back the kind of command you need, because he's not an overpowering pitcher, never has been, and he's got to be not necessarily pinpoint, but certainly can't get away with a lot of mistakes that maybe a guy who throws at mid-90s can.
Well, when you come back from a Tommy John surgery, you start, first of all, you build up your arm strength. Once you get that back, then it's command. But he had the feel, you remember he said, now I can finally go out and throw my curveball, where he couldn't throw it before he was hurt because he felt something in there, and he has good command of that curveball. But he is a control pitcher. He has to pitch in front of the hitters, and he's always around the strike zone. He doesn't like to walk batters.
Well, there certainly were some highlights for Josh Tomlin a year ago. I mean, if you look at the overall body of work, the numbers maybe aren't real impressive. As that ball's yanked to left field, that'll get down, and the Reds will tack on another run. 2-0 Cincinnati as Dominguez heads into second base with an RBI double.
Now that looked like it was a breaking ball that stayed up in the strike zone. And that's the one thing when you are a control pitcher. Look at upstairs. He has to get that ball down a little bit. First start of the spring, though. And even in spring training, the hitters will let you know when you make a mistake pitch, as they do right there. And he has been getting a lot of the plate in this top half of the first inning. A homer and 2 doubles already for Cincinnati, and they pounded out, 16 hits yesterday.
They were very impressive swinging the bats in yesterday's 10-0 win. Brennan Bosch. Last year with the Angels and in their farm system, but of course we saw him for years playing against the Indians with the Tigers. Guy that at one time appeared to be on the verge of becoming a very good, reliable player, and then just kind of vanished.
Well, had a couple of injuries and then lost some playing time and just never came back to where he once was. He was a good low ball hitter, you remember, in Detroit. I think one of the few guys, one of the few left-handers in this league that ever hit Chris Sale very well. I think he's got a couple of home runs off him, and that's hard to do.
Sky-high pop on the infield. Eric Gonzalez settles under it. The second baseman squeezes it, 2 down.
Let's check out the defense behind Tomlin this afternoon. Sets up this way. It'll be Holt in left field. Bourne is in center. Rayburn gets his first start in right. Walters is at third. Lindor at short. Gonzalez at second. Aguilar at first. Then Perez doing the catching.
Tony Randazzo is calling the balls and strikes here this afternoon. On the bases, we've got Todd Tishner, Alan Porter, and Jordan Baker.
I think Alan Porter must live in Goodyear, because remember last year he was at almost every game here?
Yes, we had him a lot. Brian Pena. Reds have an interesting situation in that with Pena, of course, we remember him in Kansas City.
And Detroit, yes.
Cincinnati looks at him maybe not so much as a backup catcher, but as a guy who can pinch hit and potentially, fill a backup role behind the dish. So they're toying with the idea. For example, Pena's DHing today's game, and Tucker Barnhart is in the lineup as the catcher. Barnhart a couple of years ago was the minor league Gold Glove winner as a catcher. So defensively, he's got really good skills. And they're toying with the idea, do we carry 3 catchers? Boy, does that put your roster in a bind if you do?
Yeah, it does, unless another catcher can play first base. And I think Pena has played a little first base for him in the past.
They like Pena's bat. That's obvious.
Well, he's always found a way to hit the Indians pitching when he was with Kansas City and then with Detroit before he went to Cincinnati. So, yeah, he can swing it.
Reds with 2 on the board, 3 hits, including a leadoff homer by Billy Hamilton here in the first. Terry Francona's club yet to bat as Josh Tomlin looks for that third out here in the first inning. 2-1 delivery.
Heads up.
Scattered them down toward the end of the Indians' dugout.
But you know, the players, they in both dugouts, and you can see how many people. Look how many people are in the Cincinnati dugout. But boy, they've got that little railing there, and when a ball comes in that quickly, you're going to have a bunch of guys scattering, and sometimes they can't get out of the way.
Well, the Indians have, I believe, 62 players in camp.
Looks like Cincinnati's got 105 in their dugout.
The pitch is up and away. And a full count for Brian Pena. The Indians and the Cincinnati Reds share the stadium here in Goodyear, Arizona. They have side-by-side player development complexes. Just maybe a driver and a wedge for you away from the ballpark just down the road here.
They get a good roll here. Just make sure you hit the cement.
And the payoff pitch to Pena. Got him swinging, and the inning is over. But Billy Hamilton with a leadoff home run, and Cincinnati out to a 2-0 lead. The Indians are coming to bat. Let's take a look at the Cleveland Indians starting lineup today for manager Terry Francona. Michael Bourne is leading things off for the Tribe. Then Francisco Lindor. Ryan Rayburn hits third. Zach Walters cleanup. Jesus Aguilar will bat fifth, and it's Carlos Moncrief, followed by Tyler Holt, Roberto Perez, and Eric Gonzalez.
Anthony Desclafini on the mound, getting the start for the Reds today. You can see he came over in that Marlins trade, made 5 starts for him last year.
Bourne slaps it foul, left side. Desclafani just 24 years old, and he also came to the Reds with Chad Wallach, who is the son of former big leaguer Tim Wallach. And Wallach is a catcher. Bourne wraps it to right field. Back is Brendan Bosch. One away.
Take a look at the Reds defense. Shoemaker in left field, Hamilton in center, Bosch is in right, Frazier is at third, Cozart at short, Negron is at second, Dominguez at first, Bernhardt behind the plate.
Francisco Lindor, a switch hitter. Terry Francona said that this year during the Arizona Fall League, he had different scouts calling him And he said they all said the same thing. This kid is special.
Yeah.
They said he has instincts, great instincts. Terry says defensively, good hands, strong arm, quick release. He consistently makes all the routine plays, and he said he makes some spectacular plays look rather routine because of his range. It's just a matter of how quickly his offense can develop.
Well, you need the opportunity. He has almost 1,500 minor league at-bats, and that's usually what it takes until you're about ready. He's not going to be a power hitter, a home run hitter. He has an idea of the strike zone. Everybody we talk to, and it doesn't matter where he plays, whether it's in Double-A, he got to Triple-A at 20, they say this guy stands out on the baseball field. You talk to his manager that's had him the last few years, Dave Wallace, he raves about him. So it's just a matter of getting a chance for this kid to play. You never know. If he had an opportunity to come up last year after they traded Cabrera, he might have been the guy to play every day. But in turn, it was Ramirez. He was a step ahead of him. But he gets a base hit, gets it going.
Well, Rick, in my conversations with Francisco Lindor, I'm just impressed with how poised he is. And when you talk to guys who've played with him, they say, man, this kid's a born leader. He's got the natural ability to say, hey, guys, I'm going to lead you. And he does it in a way so that it's not overbearing, but he's going to be a very good player.
Well, he had 28 stolen bases in the minor leagues last year, but was thrown out about 12 times. So something you want to work on. You want to, as a base stealer, as you get to the big leagues, you want to try and steal at least 75%, 3 out of every 4 that you can get. And that comes with time and getting to know pitchers. As you move up, it gets a little tougher to steal bags.
Ryan Rayburn goes down hacking. 2 down here in the first. Seems to me that, okay, there was a time where stolen bases were off the charts. Guys were stealing crazy numbers, 70, 80, 90, 100 stolen bases.
That is crazy.
Then when the game shrunk and home runs became in vogue, call it the PED era or whatever, stolen bases all but vanished. And now I think stolen bases are becoming more of a premium. However, Rick, we're seeing pitchers, catchers doing such a tremendous job of paying more attention. Yes. It's tough now for guys to steal a lot of bases.
Yeah, we're not. When I say steal bases, we're not talking about 40, 50 in that number. I mean, a stolen base for me is when your team needs it. It could be late in the game, where if the manager doesn't want to bunt in a situation, when called upon, you can steal a bag. And whether it's 20, 25, 30. At the right time, that's one thing.
Right.
Guys, when they used to steal 60 and 70 bases, they would steal when it's 5-1, 6-1. You don't do that anymore.
Zach Walters at the dish with 2 down, and Lindor at first. And Walters fouls it back. Now, Zach Walters last year really put on a pretty good power display for the Indians in a short amount of time. We saw him really jolt the ball on a number of occasions, and then we saw that power just sort of disappear, and we thought, well, maybe this is just the game adjusting, pitchers starting to figure things out. And then it was revealed after the season, Zach said, I tore a rib cage muscle, and he tried to play through that late in the season. Very difficult to do.
Well, he certainly has some pop in the bat.
Swing and a miss.
And that's one thing you do. When you can hit home runs, you can also swing and miss a lot. But he has some very good power. I think the key here for Zach is what position does he play? Does he go as an everyday guy? If he doesn't make this club, where does he go? Or do they play him all over and use him at second, short, third? He's playing third today, and even in the outfield.
Well, to that point, Terry Francona said that a guy like Zach Walters, the best chance to play in the major leagues right now is for him being able to move around. He's got to be able to learn some different positions, and he understands that. And because of what you're seeing right here, that power, you want to try to find a spot for him, but it's a matter of can he play first? Can he play some third? Can you put him in the outfield? Can he spell a guy at second base?
What they're grooming him for is a guy like Micah Vilas. Right. Doesn't have an everyday position at the big league level to play every day, so he can play maybe 2, 3, 4 positions, but you try and get that bat in the lineup. And that's pretty good. 7 homers and 90 at bats.
1-2 pitch. fouled back. We have seen other players be able to do that. Ben Zobrist comes to mind, a guy who doesn't necessarily have a one position, but because of his abilities and what he can do offensively, Tampa Bay for years plugged him in at different spots and was able to keep him in the lineup.
Yeah, different spots, even different spots in the lineup as well, because he is very versatile.
Easier said than done sometimes, and that's what spring training is for, to try to find out how a guy takes two different positions.
It all depends on the makeup of your team.
Swing and a miss. Walter strikes out, and DeSclafani strikes out a pair. Cincinnati out to a 2-0 lead, second inning. And for the Reds, Zach Cozart going to lead things off. Bottom third of the Reds order will face Josh Tomlin, who's scheduled for around 30-40 pitches or 2 innings. TJ House getting loose in the Cleveland bullpen. He's scheduled to work same number of either pitches or innings here today.
Again, as McAllister started yesterday, he's vying for that number 5 spot in the rotation with Tomlin and House, who's out getting loose.
Cozart right back to the mound. Tomlin, a terrific fielding pitcher, fires to first, 1 away.
Well, you go back to the first inning for Josh Tomlin and watch the location of a lot of his pitches. That one that was out of the ballpark on the leadoff hitter Hamilton down the middle, belled high. Josh has got to keep the ball down. He's got to stay out of the middle of the plate, and that's the breaking ball. Just didn't get a feel for it to get it down low enough, but he knows he's always a pitcher that has to stay out of the middle of the plate. And in that first inning, all 3 hits came on pitches that were middle and up.
Terry Francona says Josh Tomlin is a guy that has the respect of every player in the clubhouse. And the reason for that is that he is accountable. He said if he goes out and has an awful game, has a great game, he's accountable for himself and for his own. And he said, you know, last year we had to make some tough decisions. We had to send him down. He said, you know what? I deserve it. I haven't pitched well enough to deserve to stay here. And he said that's why his teammates really love him.
Well, remember that game out in Seattle last year, that 1 hit, complete game shutout, 11 strikeouts, no walks.
Yeah.
It was one of the best games pitched, and one of the few. I mean, that was the best game pitched I've seen since Barker's perfect game.
Lindor leaps up and snares a would-be hit off the bat of Christopher Negron, 2 down.
There's a line drive off the bat, and sometimes these pitches, he jumps, times it beautifully. You'll see pitches like that. That one didn't really have top spin on it. It was hit very hard, but Lindor shags it down.
Now Tucker Barnhart, switch hitter, batting 9th today for Cincinnati. Tomlin trying to make it a quick 1-2-3 second inning. He's retired now 4 in a row.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that Tomlin works quickly with rhythm, gets the ball, stays on the rubber, lets go. That's where the hitters, they're going to have to stay in the batter's box for him. He doesn't need a clock.
Drill deep right, but right there in his tracks, Ryan Rayburn makes the grab. 1-2-3, go the Reds. A scoreless frame for Josh Tomlin. 2-0 Cincy, middle of the second. Two 2-0 Cincinnati, bottom of the second inning. Jesus Aguilar, Carlos Moncrief, and Tyler Holt all due up for the Tribe. Matt Underwood, Rick Manning with you here in beautiful Goodyear, Arizona on a spectacular day. Let's go down to the Indians dugout right now. We're joined by Indians pitcher Trevor Bauer. And Trevor, welcome in. Your third spring training now with the Indians. Knowing your teammates, your environment, your surroundings, coaching staff, how much does that help you accomplish what you need to get done so that you're ready for the start of the season?
It's a big benefit. Just being comfortable in the locker room, comfortable with the procedures and timing of everything, and kind of knowing, when to get to the field, when to leave, when to get my work in, stuff like that, and being able to joke around with some of the guys and have fun. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just having fun and enjoying being out here and playing baseball.
Zach Cozart takes a hit away from Jesus Aguilar, and terrific play by the Cincinnati shortstop right there. One away to bring up Carlos Moncrief.
Well, Trevor, you pitched 153 innings for this team last year, second most on the team. How much fun was it in the second half of the year following Kluber, and then Carrasco got on a roll, and everybody started feeding off each other as far as the starters go?
Yeah, that was fantastic. It was so fun to watch, like just sitting in the dugout and watching, the performances that everyone was turning in and the kind of role the starting staff was on. It was really fun to be a part of that and contribute to it, and hopefully we can start the season off where we left off and have that for a full season. I think if we get that for a full season, it's going to be pretty fun and a pretty special thing.
You guys actually feed off each other, and then you want to go out and do better than the next guy, don't you?
Yeah, no doubt. There's a little bit of like internal competition where you're going to try to one up the guy that went before you, and I mean that's when you get really good stats, I think that's what goes on, and it helps the team in a big way.
Trevor, I mentioned to Rick yesterday, it seems like more pitchers on the Indian staff this year have added the cut fastball to their repertoire, and I said to him, I don't know if that's because Corey Kluber had so much success with that pitch a year ago. I know nothing gets past you. You're always looking for that edge. What is it about the cut fastball in particular that makes it such an effective pitch for pitchers? I
think because it moves so little. There's really not, you can't really pick it up as a hitter. And so if you have a little run to your fastball, arm side run, and you can throw a cutter, 2 or 3 inches of movement either way creates 6 inches of difference, which is playing to get off the barrel either way. And I think some guys, as they see it thrown more and kind of become familiar with how to throw it, and can talk to some guys that throw it well, they pick it up and add it and find good success with it. It's a pretty simple pitch to throw, too.
Pretty good piece of hitting right there by Carlos Moncrief as he jolts one into the gap. Second hit for the Indians. A 1-out double puts him in the scoring position as we take a look at some of Trevor's highlights from a year ago.
Is there anything, Trevor, that you did special this winter, to change, to get ready for this year?
Yeah, I focused on my command a lot more, which is different. I've never really had an off-season where I did that. It's been trying to get healthy or changing my mechanics around or stuff like that. But I feel like the work that I did on that went really well, and I'm actually encouraged by where I'm at coming into spring training.
The command is such a big deal when you get to the big leagues. With the hitters up here, they're able to lay off some of your best pitches where they may swing at it down in the minor leagues, but once they get to know you up here, they draw a book on it. It's a constant adjustment game, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just putting pressure on the hitter. When they're comfortable and they're ahead in the count, they're a lot less likely to swing at, those borderline pitches that you make. If you can get ahead in the count, you can put pressure on them, 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, keep them in those counts more. You get a lot more swing and miss on pitches out of the zone, which is obviously, as a pitcher, the more you can get that, the better off you're going to be.
And I think that's what this staff, Matt, did so well last year. The pitchers were so aggressive. Watching Kluber, strike one, strike two. Carrasco did it. You started doing it, and that's when the strikeouts do come.
Yeah, no doubt. That's one of the things that I'm kind of focused on this year is how quickly can I get to a 2-strike count. Try to minimize the pitches it takes to get there, because you can't strike anybody out, obviously, until you have 2 strikes. And the more pressure you keep on the hitter, the more early outs that you're going to get, early in the count outs, and all that stuff helps contribute not only to your outing as a pitcher, but the team and saving the bullpen and chewing up more innings and keeping everybody in the flow of the game and stuff like that.
That's the fun thing. Strikeouts come because you get ahead in the count. It's nice to go out and have a 7-pitch inning or an 8-pitch inning, because that means you got a chance to stay around for 6, 7, even 8 innings.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, an ideal inning would be 1 strikeout, a ground ball, and a pop-up. 7 or 8 pitches and back in the dugout.
Trevor, without giving away any trade secrets, take our viewers inside the dugout. When you guys as starters, when the 4 of you are not pitching, it seems like there's a lot of give and take. Is there sharing of information and just exchanging ideas constantly during games?
Yeah, there's definitely a portion of that, baseball-wise, but mostly just it's a long season, and going through and kind of joking about this or that, talk about cars or how the family's going or stuff like that. And then if a baseball thing comes up, a lot of times it'll kind of be spurred by something that happens on the field, like someone will go out there and throw a curveball and be like, man, that was a nasty pitch. And then hey, how do you throw your curveball? How does he throw his? And then we'll kind of chat about that if something happens on the field. But most of the time it's just joking around and trying to stay loose, and all of our work is done for the day by the time the game comes around anyway. So watch the other guy go out there and try to help him in any way we can.
That's why I say the greatest job in the world is becoming a successful starting pitcher, because your work's done before the game starts. You can just sit and get entertained.
Yeah, no, it's a good gig.
Yes, it is.
Roberto Perez sends one high in the air, deep over into the corner goes Brendan Bosch, makes the catch in fair ground, tagging at third. Carlos Moncrief coming home, he will score. And the Indians are on the board here in the second inning. They cut the Reds' lead in half. It's now 2-1 as Roberto Perez picks up the RBI. Trevor, I'm curious, do you think you'll ever reach a point where you're truly satisfied, or you think you'll always be looking to say, maybe if I can add this to my repertoire, if I can maybe work on my hand position on my slider, it maybe can do this?
I'm never going to stop trying to improve, but I mean, there's only a certain amount you can, a certain level you can do things at. So, I mean, you can talk about different stuff like velocity, command, pitches, approach, conditioning, all the different stuff. And it's like if you rate it on a 1 to 10 scale, you start approaching those 8 and those 9 areas in a lot of those categories, and there's just not a whole lot you can do to improve anymore. It takes a lot of work to maintain that high level of execution and preparedness. So I think as the seasons go along, and hopefully in the next couple of years, I get to a point where it's more so maintenance and slight improvements. Working on that last maybe 5 or 10% of those categories. Whereas the off seasons in recent memory have been, trying to take away big chunks.
Yeah.
Trying to take out a big chunk of my mechanics, or improve my command a lot in one off season.
Bounce here towards second, bobbled by Negron, but he recovers to throw him out. Trevor, thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
best of luck to you this year.
Thank you.
That's Trevor Bauer. Indians get on the board through 2, Cincinnati 2, Cleveland 1.
Indians baseball is back in 2015 with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio, broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Here is TJ House. You see his numbers from a year ago. Did a terrific job. Billy Hamilton trying to bunt.
Better hurry.
Here's the flip, and nice job by Gonzalez to get there.
Boy, was it ever.
Well executed by Aguilar also, who didn't panic. And he gave Gonzalez a very good flip.
Well, you panic when you look and you know you can't touch him. But the hustle of Gonzalez, he was able to get over to first base. And look where he came from, Matt. He knew. He put his head down. He gets there just in time to get the speedster. That's a really nice play. He barehanded it. Aguilar thought he was going to be able to tag him, but you can't. That guy can get down the line as well as anybody. Really nice play all the way around.
That's another one of those plays where if Gonzalez hesitates or falls asleep and forgets, you're not going to get there in time.
That's what you call putting pressure on a defense right there with the speed. He's from the right side. He's pushing that ball. And it's ideal for him with the left-handed pitcher on the mound who's falling to the third base side. He just puts it in fair territory. That's why defensively that was a really good play by those two guys.
Skip Shoemaker doubled and scored in the first. Rips it foul out of play. TJ House just took the ball, went out, competed every time he took the mound last year, and that's what Terry Francona appreciated, that he is one of those guys. He said, maybe doesn't blow up the radar gun or have dazzling stuff, but he said, man, he competes, and every time he goes out there, he keeps you in the game, and you look up and he's gone 6 innings.
Well, and he gets the ground ball double play. He throws strikes. He doesn't walk people. He jams you. And I'll tell you, he really showed me a lot last year. He just went out there start after start. He kept his team in the game, had a very nice ERA, and he doesn't get overwhelmed with runners on base. And, you know, you put him against a guy, let's say, who he's battling with, like a Danny Salazar, for example. And you know what? 9 out of 10 guys are going to look at Salazar and say, we like this guy. But this guy pitches. He knows how to get outs. That's the difference between those two players.
Fouled right back. TJ also doesn't mess around. He gets the ball. He's on a rubber, and here we go.
Love the way he pitches. I really do. And it compliments you when you have all right-handed starters out there and guys that can throw very well. It gives them a different look.
In there for a strike to Todd Frazier, who flied to center his first time up. And here is TJ House working quickly, throwing strikes, changing speeds. The 3 keys to pitching.
Yeah, the art of pitching.
And the 0-2 is hit to center. Back goes Bourne. And makes the catch. 1, 2, 3 go the Reds here in the 3rd. TJ House cruises through. 2-1 Cincinnati. The order due up for Cleveland. They'll see a new Cincinnati pitcher, Kevin Gregg, who last year with the Marlins appeared in just 12 games. He has 177 career saves, so a veteran arm trying to make an impact on this Cincinnati club. Michael Bourne, Francisco Lindor, and Ryan Rayburn due up for the Indians. Let's go down to the dugout once again, where we are joined by John McDonald. Indians a special assistant in camp after officially calling it quits. How difficult was it for you to come to that decision in the offseason, John?
I think the other 30 clubs in the league made it pretty easy for me. I wasn't really approached with an opportunity to win a big league job, so it was. I think it's just time. Baseball kind of tells you when it's time to retire, and with the way my body has felt over the past couple of years, and it was nice to be able to look back at my career and finally be proud of the body of work that I've been able to do over the last 18 years.
When you started out, this journey began around, 20 years ago, coming out of school. Could you have imagined you'd have an opportunity to play as long as you did in the big leagues?
I couldn't have even imagined the opportunity, like you just said. I didn't think I was good enough at the time. I just wanted an opportunity to get the pro ball and then see what would happen. And getting to Double-A, I remember going to Double-A and playing in Akron and feeling like I was pretty close to Cleveland, and the fact that my name was in the same paper as Robbie Alomar and Omar Vizquel, that was a pretty nice thing for me to be able to hang on my wall, and then to be able to break into the big leagues and play with them. And what an opportunity for a young player to come up and show those guys what you're made of.
It's a beautiful game, though, isn't it? You work hard, you do everything you can, and 16 years later, that's what makes this game so great.
A little bit of luck, a lot of preparation, a lot of work.
Right.
To watch that come together, and now to be able to talk to young guys about just being ready for the opportunity that you might get. All that practice, that opportunity might not come. You never know. Certain organizations have a ton of talent, and you might get traded to the wrong organization, and it didn't work out. And it wasn't because you weren't good enough. The situation doesn't always call your number.
Well, Johnny Mac, I'm curious your thoughts on this young man right here. We just saw him take the ball the other way. He's 2 for 2, swinging the bat, and that's what everybody says. Look, offensively, they're looking for the improvement to get him to the big league level. Defensively, he could probably play here right now. You've been around a long time. You've seen great players. You were a tremendous defender yourself. What do you think of Lindor?
It's been fun watching him prepare. I haven't been able to watch him take ground balls too many times yet this spring. We haven't been on the same field, but his talent level is right up there with a lot of the better shortstops in the game right now. And watching him play already today, he seems to slow the game down. He ran faster that slow roller that came to him last inning. He attacked it, and then as he was getting to the ball, he slowed down and was really controlled with his throw to first base. Almost like halfway through running into that ball, he knew it was already an out. And that confidence that comes along with that's not something that he's just learning now. I mean, he's from what I understand, he's been carrying that with him for the past few years.
Well, you've had an opportunity to work in camp with some of these guys. What have you been working on, say, with a Chisenhall or a Kipnis or some of the infielders now for the Indians?
The first week of camp, it's been we've had a lot of meetings, so it's been a slow go to be able to get out and do a lot of early works. We've done a lot of team drills. A lot of it's footwork based right now, having good balance, moving our feet. Not trying to go 100%, but trying to make sure that we're more perfect in our work, that our throws are more on line, that we're moving our feet toward our target wherever we're going to throw, and we're always on balance. And the more these players right now, I think everybody, Jose and Mike Aviles and Kipnis and Lonnie, just moving our feet, being on balance, not trying to do too much, and learning how to practice again. We've been. It's nice that everyone's together and working together to become a better infield. And I think you can already feel the camaraderie with these guys right now, the way they worked together this morning, how much they want to improve as a group.
Mac, you were one of the first guys that really taught me as a player that your feet are what take you to the ball and get you in position to make a good throw. Everybody thinks of making a throw with your arm. Hey, you got to have a good arm to throw, but you were one of the guys that said, hey, it's your footwork that makes your arm actually shine. And who was it? Was it Omar that essentially gave you that kind of leadership and information?
I think Omar was the first person I asked that I knew he was just a superior defender. I mean, who else was I going to ask that type of question? I said, what is it that makes you so good? And I remember him pointing to his feet and asking him another question. He says, just your feet? He goes, when my feet are working, I catch everything. And he already believed that he could catch everything, and I think I carried that with me because I felt like I could catch the ball. But my problem was sometimes I was in a bad spot to catch the ball, and Omar was always in the right spot to catch it. And watching his footwork, the way he moved up and back to the side of balls that were hit right at him to create a better angle, those little things that are all footwork based put him in a position to get the good hop every time. And we were talking with infielders this morning in minor league camp that it's about footwork. And Travis Ryman had some drills for the kids this morning were just footwork based. And as we believe these kids can already catch the ball, but how can we make them better at catching it? How can we make them more efficient? How can we get them to catch the right hop? And starting from the ground up, they've got some great drills. And watching these kids work right now, it's a bright future for this organization.
High, towering drive, right field, back on the track, and Brennan Bosch pulls it down.
Almost Souvenir City, man.
Got it in, Mac. Very nice. Well, even though, you can work hard, there's also going to be times everybody is not going to be a Gold Glover. Guys are going to have to work that hard just to become average players, because there's just some players that aren't going to be good defenders, right?
And that's what you want people to get the most out of their ability, not to try to become somebody else that we want them to become. You know, we're not. We work with Lonnie. We're not looking for Lonnie to be Scott Rowland. We're looking for him to continue to grow as a player, continue to be more efficient, to cut down on mistakes that he knows that he makes with either his footwork or getting a four-seam grip. You know, every time he goes to throw across the diamond, cutting down on any type of mistakes. That's just going to make him grow and become a better player. And I think that's the main focus of any coach right now. We're trying to make guys more efficient, more aware of what they do wrong, more aware of what they do right, so they can focus on those both ways and grow as a player. Sometimes be able to teach themselves how to become a better player, which is awesome. When they start doing that, man, it's fun to watch them figure stuff out on their own.
Well, it's great having you back in camp. Good having you around, and best of luck to you this year, Johnny Mac.
Awesome. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, that's John McDonald in camp, special assistant for the Indians this year. 2-1 Reds after 3. Fourth inning here in Goodyear. Cincinnati with a 2-1 lead. Indians brought Adam Moore into the ball game now, taking over for Roberto Perez. I believe that's the only change to this point in the game, other than the pitching changes that we've had. T.J. House, his second inning of work, fouled out a play by Chris Dominguez, who doubled back in the first inning. Josh Tomlin, a little bit of a rough start. Well, when you consider 3 of the first 4 batters all got hits off of him, and 2 of them were doubles, 1 of them was a home run. But since then, no red has reached base, and there's another Cincinnati hitter down. First strikeout for T.J. House. That's 9 in a row, retired now by Cleveland pitching.
Well, that's what you love about House going inside. That was a little cutter or slider going in there. He pounds a fastball inside, goes down and away. He really changes location, velocity off of everything.
Fouled out of play. T.J. House, who hails from Louisiana, but he went to the Superdome and was cheering on the Buckeyes when they beat Alabama.
Oh, he was down there, huh?
Yeah. His nickname technically is Tiger Jr., which is how he comes by the initials TJ. But I said to him, I said, yeah, nobody's ever really hung a baseball nickname on you.
Well, he'll get one if he stays in.
remedied very quickly. I think in his career, he has come in to a bases-loaded situation. 52 of the 54 runners have been left on base. Wow. That's impressive.
You talk about nailing it down. That's probably a tough situation. I thought you were going to say he let so many inherited runners score, but he stopped them. Only allowed two?
Two. 18 to no. I don't know how many times.
That's impressive. I don't care how many times
if it's 2 outs, doesn't matter.
No.
Still got to get the out.
No, there's times, you know, there are times where, as a manager, you can't bring guys in with the bases loaded or a lot of guys on base because they have a tendency to give them up.
Overall in his career, as there's a broken bat, line drive, base hit by Carlos Moncrief. So he's 2 for 2. The young guys, Francisco Lindor and Carlos Moncrief, have combined for 4 of the Indians' 6 hits now in the ballgame.
First time today they've had their leadoff man aboard.
Yeah, Rick, overall in his career, with the bases loaded, Sam LeCure has held opposing hitters to a 4 for 39 mark with 13 strikeouts. Bang to first, there's an out there, and a throw down to second, a double play.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do as a base runner there. That ball hit one hop as first base. Dominguez just stepped on the bag and an easy throw to second base. Almost looked like a hit and run on right here, but Holt just slapped it the other way and it went right to the glove hand. He's easy play to step on first and an easy throw to second base to get the double play.
Going to bring up Adam Moore. Last year, Sam LeCure led the Cincinnati pitching staff with 62 appearances. And there were 4 different times just last year alone that he came into a bases-loaded situation. And in all 4 of those situations, he left all 12 runners on base. Well, this is a guy he just loves the high-pressure situation. Hey, what do they call him now? The high leverage. He likes the high leverage situation.
High leverage, yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, when you want to leave runners stranded, you bring them in. That reminds me of when Kevin Millwood was here. When he got bases loaded, he took it to another level. It was called damage control by him.
Yeah.
You know, you minimize damage. But that was as a starter. Now, when you're coming out of the bullpen and you come into a situation, I would think that would be a little more extreme. Even though those runners aren't yours, your goal is to keep them stranded. Boy, what a job he does.
There's the cure for the common cold, and there's the cure for the bases loaded. That's what Cincinnati has in their bullpen. Moore strikes out, and the inning is over. 4 complete from Goodyear. It's the Reds 2 and the Indians 1.
Well, we welcome you back visually after that temporary interruption in the transmission, but we're back on track here, and want to remind you that the Indians and Reds will wrap up this 3-game series tomorrow, and we'll have it for you right here in Goodyear. First pitch, 3 o'clock Eastern time, on the way to opening day here on Sports Time Ohio. New pitcher for Cleveland, C.C. Lee, coming in now for the Tribe. Taking over for T.J. House, who went 2 perfect innings.
And did it quickly, so he had to go back out. He's still throwing in the bullpen, isn't he? To get his pitch count up, or is that a different pitcher warming up?
He's done. Whatever he had to go back out in the bullpen and do, I think he's already finished.
Okay.
But the Indians, combined with Tomlin and House, have set down 11 Reds hitters in a row. And here's C.C. Lee, who appeared in 37 games last year, 4.5 ERA. And Terry Francona and Mickey Callaway, they're very high on C.C. Lee. They feel like he's got the kind of stuff, he's got different arm angle, and they think he can really help them.
Well, he made a big improvement last year from getting called up, and it's a matter of feeling comfortable in your role at this level, but he can certainly help them out, and he's tough on right-handed hitters.
Ryan Rayburn grabs that fly ball in right field for out number 1. It will bring up Christopher Negron. Yeah, I think you're right, Rick. For Lee, as it would be the case for anybody, he born and raised in Taiwan. All of a sudden, he's in the U.S. He's in Kinston, North Carolina. Then he's in Akron, Ohio, and Columbus. Then he's in the big leagues, and he's traveling all over the United States. And there's certainly some adjustments that you have to make. And it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it really, and when you're getting called up to a bullpen that, is really a good bullpen to begin with, you're not going to crack it, when the team is winning. So you're going to have to pitch in certain situations, and when called upon, and it may not be on a nightly basis, but he has very good stuff. And as you say, he's a little different from the side. He's tough on right-handers, and Terry sort of eases him into the role. That's why, he gets his pitchers like Crockett last year. You ease them into it, get them comfortable, they succeed, and once they have a little success, they start getting a lot more confident.
Tough play over near the line. Ryan Rayburn runs it down. Nicely done for out number 2. Rayburn covering a lot of ground here in the 5th inning. He had to go into the gap towards center field to make the first out, and this time he's tested toward the line.
Well, had some knee surgery in the offseason, but really came back, and Terry Francona said he was thrilled the way the shape he came into, worked very hard, and he seems to be running very well.
Tough, rugged, easy to root for. Hope that he can bounce back, because gives him that right-handed bat. That
2 years ago he was unbelievable in his minimal at-bats throughout the course of the year. Last year he struggled. And, it was 2 different types of years.
It was here in spring training, remember, Rick, I believe it was in Mesa. He ran into the center field wall. I think he was playing center field. It was in the outfield somewhere. He ran into the wall, kind of jacked his neck up a little bit, and it just was like a domino all season long effect for him.
He ran in. He had some weird plays in the outfield a year ago. You're right. Running into walls, a diving play in Seattle hurt his neck. The play over down the line in Kansas City and inside the Parker cost Kluber a run. He went through a number of different things last year. It was just not a good year for him. And hopefully that's behind him. He comes back and he had it like he did in year 1, because he can certainly help this club, being the right-handed bat, when you're facing left-handers.
Tucker Barnhart with 2 down here in the 5th. And he got him. Hit him on either the elbow or the hip. That snaps a string of 13 in a row retired by Indians pitching. Let's go back to a year ago. This was in Seattle. Watch the effort, all out, makes the catch.
That was in Tomlin's one-hitter, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a great, and then he had another one where he ended up doing something to his neck, I think, too.
Well, I think that's the play, though, that It
jarred his neck.
Yeah, and that all goes back to spring training. It was a play, I think it was in Mesa.
Okay.
It was against the Cubs. I remember that. But that's why we always talk about, whether it's a NFL preseason game, a baseball spring training game, coaches, managers, you just want to come out of everything healthy.
Yes.
Billy Hamilton led off the game with a home run. He puts a jolt into that one.
They're testing him. They know what we're talking about.
Makes the catch again. So Ryan Rayburn, Johnny on the spot all 3 times in right field. And the Reds once again are held off the board. Middle of the 5th. It's 2-1.
KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. And kids tickets are located in the new family deck at Progressive Field, home to the expanded Kids Clubhouse. Just log on to Indians.com/kids tickets today.
Well, we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Folks enjoying a day in the sun, and there's plenty of it today, isn't there?
Yeah, no, the clouds, a lot of clouds yesterday. They're sparingly today, and it's going to continue to get warmer as this week goes along.
First left-hander for Cincinnati in the ball game. 4th pitcher of the afternoon, David Holmberg, and he'll be facing Eric Gonzalez, then Michael Bourne and Francisco Lindor. Holmberg's just 23 years of age. Came to the Reds in a trade 2 years ago from Arizona. He's a highly touted prospect with the Diamondbacks. Not an overpowering left-hander, doesn't appear to be.
Just got in a little bit.
To left field, back goes Shoemaker, and he pulls it down. 1 down here in the 5th. Fox Sports Live has all the highlights from the biggest games and the major newsmakers in the sports world tonight at 11 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Here's Michael Bourne, who has flied out twice today, once to right field, once to left. Michael Bourne had hamstring issues at the very end of the 2013 campaign. They lingered a year ago to the point where he just didn't have the kind of explosiveness that enabled him to use his legs, which are so valuable to his performance. So this off season, he went to the University of Houston, where Leroy Burrell, former Olympian, is a track coach there. Carl Lewis is also part of that staff, and so he had the right guy to help him work on his explosiveness. And I said to him, I go, man, I don't think of sprinters and baseball players being, similar in terms of the way they run. But he said, running, there's a lot of things that, form-wise that they can do to help me, and a lot of things they worked on. And it wasn't like he just showed up and they had a little chalk talk. This was hard work.
Yeah.
He did it all season long. So at this point in his career, it tells you how committed he is to trying to get back.
Well, you have to hope that he can go out there this year and stay healthy, that he doesn't have any lingering effects. He worked hard at it, because this team, if he's going to play center field, they need Michael Bourne on the bases. They need him to, create a little havoc.
Liner caught at first by Dominguez, 2 down.
Ball that's Bourne hit right on the nose. A little sinking line drive, but to his glove hand side, he's able to make the play and retire Michael Bourne for out number 2.
Francisco Lindor is 2 for 2 today with a couple of singles. Off the end of the bat, fooled him with a change of pace.
Look at him, a cue shot right off the end of the bat. He's sort of smiling out there. You try and stay back, and you're telling yourself, because he had a base hit going the other way from the other side of the plate. But you get out front, no matter. Sometimes it's awfully hard just to stay back.
Well, Francisco Lindor, he's obviously serious about the game and about his career, but he's got that smile. He's got that kind of charisma and personality.
Has fun playing the game, and you're supposed to do that. Play hard, but you play smart. Enjoy what you're doing.
Drilled down the line, but foul. And I think, Rick, too, people say, everybody that he's played for or has been on the team with him they say it, how should I put this, lovingly, that he plays with a great deal of confidence. They never say arrogance or that he's cocky, but they say, boy, you can tell he's got that confidence.
What's this game all about?
Oh, he's rung up on a borderline pitch here. And a 1-2-3 inning for David Holmberg. Through 5, it remains Cincinnati 2, Cleveland 1. We've reached that point in the game where substitutions are coming fast and furious now. A whole host of new Reds will be coming to the plate here in the 6th inning. And Nick Mirande, left-hander, will be coming on now to pitch for the Indians. You see his numbers last year as a member of the Angels. And also defensively now for Cleveland, James Ramsey takes over in center field. And the guy that Ramsey replaces joins us now from the Indians dugout, Michael Bourne. Michael, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Just getting out here the first game. You know, getting my legs out of it. That's about it.
At this point in your career, is there still something different about this day where it's a game, not just a practice, not a workout, but an actual game?
Well, it's always fun to get back in the game. I think so. You know, game atmosphere is always different than practice. Your adrenaline is flowing a little bit. So, yes, it's always nice to get out here in the game. You know, I don't want to take it for granted because, you know, you only get to play so many years. So, you know, everyone you try to make count. And, you know, I'm happy to be back here in Arizona and happy to be back starting spring training again.
Michael, what's a good spring for you as far as at-bats do you think you need to get yourself ready to start the year?
It doesn't matter to me, man. You know, whatever Tito wants us to do. I go 3 a game, and, you know, he wants us to take 4 once 2 weeks is up. That's cool with me. So
yeah.
I just, you know, go on the pace that he goes, and whatever he thinks he wants us to do, you know, I'm with it.
I was telling the viewers about your off-season training regimen at the University of Houston, working out with Leroy Burrell and trying to get your legs back under you. How important was that work, and how do you feel it's benefited you so far?
Well, it was good for me. You know, I was happy that he was willing to work with me, you know, with all the things he got going on, being the head coach over there with the boys and the girls. So I was thankful for him to work with me, and you know, we had a good time together, just learning each other, he was learning the baseball aspect of it, and I was learning how, you know, track runners run, even though for us we run in a shorter distance. So he was just trying to teach me a better form of running, you know, to where I could put less stress on my hamstrings, and hopefully that works for me. You know, I'm gonna try to just relay it into baseball and you know, go from there.
So much of athletics is instinctual. So I'm curious, Michael, when you're making any kind of adjustment to how you run, whether it's you know, how your body lean is, or you know, your stride, how much work do you have to put in so that you're not thinking about it, you're just doing it?
Well, you're right. You're right. Everything is instinctual. So I just, you know, that's why I said hopefully when I get out here, I'm just gonna go out and try to, you know.
Oh, a nice play by your replacement out there.
I see, you know, and I know the dude that's hitting right there. I've been knowing him for a long time. That was a good catch too, and you know, I just try to work on, like you said, you know, once the game starts, I'm gonna just try to let it take over. You know, I'm not gonna try to be thinking about it, and I try to do it in everything when I run and all that kind of stuff. And once the game comes, I'm gonna just try to get out there and you know, go play baseball.
Well, even though you're out of the ball game, I know you still have plenty of work to do before you call it a day. So thanks for stopping by. We appreciate your time. Best of luck to you this year.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You got it. That's Michael Bourne joining us from down on the Indians dugout. We'll let him finish his day of work as the Indians trail the Reds 2-1 here in the 6th inning. Boy, that was a terrific play by James Ramsey in center field, though, to rob Jason Bourgeois of a hit. Kyle Waldrop gets his first at bat of the day. Big left-handed hitter last year, single A and double A, hit 338. Nothing wrong with that.
He'll certainly get a look in spring training. Put those kind of numbers up. You know, not getting an opportunity. I wanted to ask Michael. He just needs to go out there and have a healthy year and play his 150 games or thereabouts. And I think everything will take care of itself. But staying on the field is certainly going to help.
Well, I think, too, Rick, and you can speak to this because I'm sure there were times in your career where when you rely on your speed, as you did, if there's any sort of lingering doubt as to can I go full go, or if, you know, I want to be able to stay on the field and help my team without blowing up my body.
Well, you can do that. I mean, if you're the key is to play every day. Now, there's going to be days when your legs are dog tired, you don't feel like you can't run. That's okay. Your teammates know that. That's when somebody will pick you up and you do that. But you're out there playing. you know, your 9 innings, you're going to give it everything you got. There's days you're going to be 75% and you don't have it. But for the most part, you hang around long enough, you play 150 games, which is a pretty good number nowadays. With the travel, they like to give you days off. The numbers will speak for themselves. And if he's going to be up at the top part of that lineup and he's got to make things happen, not necessarily steal bases, but Michael's the type of guy that can steal them when needed. He's been there before and he knows that.
Now Michael's going to head for the exits as he finishes his work down at the Player Development Complex. Week played 5.5, and it's still 2-1 Cincinnati. Cincinnati up 2-1, bottom of the 6th inning. And the Reds have now changed their entire team on the field. So here's a look. Jason Bourgeois takes over in left. Your man Rodriguez is in center field. That's your man.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Perez is in right. Soto at third. Falou at short. DeJesus at second. Waldrop at first. And Wallach behind the dish. Swing and a miss by Ryan Rayburn. Rayburn 1 for 2 today with a single. He hit a ball right off the third base bag in the 3rd inning. And a hot smash up the middle. Diving stop by DeJesus, and he throws him out. No shock there. DeJesus, the son of Ivan DeJesus, who played a long time in the big leagues with a number of different clubs. So that might be in the genes, huh, Rick?
I think so. No question about it. His dad was a heck of a shortstop with the Cubs, went and played with the Phillies. And this young man dives at second base, makes a play, and takes a hit away from Rayburn. Rayburn would have had a double if it didn't hit the bag his first time up and hit the ball right on the nose again.
Zach Walters 0 for 2 on the day. There's a strike called, and Walters in the hole, 0-2. Zach struck out in the 1st inning, flied to right in the 3rd. He fouled that off of his leg. Zach Walters, earlier today, they were the players were taking infield drills. They were doing. Actually, what they were working on specifically was they were working on shift plays where you shift the infield with 3 guys on the right side of the infield when you've got a left-handed pull hitter. But in any event, during those drills, Walters, on a ground ball up the middle, went diving full out. And he wasn't wearing a practice jersey. He was wearing one of those fleece pullovers. He got up, looked like Pigpen from the Peanuts gang.
Trying to make a play, even in practice. You don't see it often. Usually they let it go for a base hit, but that was funny. He wanted to get it.
Swing and a miss. Walters down on strikes. 2 down here in the 6th.
Well, grab some friends and catch a game at the new 2-story bar at Progressive Field with our $13 district ticket. It's presented by Sports Time Ohio, and the new bar is the best place in town to grab a cold one. And with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. That's right. Go mention Matt's name, my name. We have a tab for you out there. You can visit Indians.com. District ticket for the ticket details.
Yeah, just tell them put that on the farmer account.
Well, that's nice. Get a district ticket and the first drink on the house. Or on Fox, I should say.
Well, here's Jesus Aguilar, 0 for 2 on the day. Terry Francona said, I want to see his personality come out a little bit more. He said, boy, you know, when you talk to people in AAA, Jesus Aguilar is the man. He said he's not just the man with the Indians AAA team, Columbus, but he said the whole league, wherever he goes, the players want to come up. They want to talk to Aguilar, want to be around him. And he said, I think he's so respectful when he's here at the big league level, whether it's in camp or when he got called up last year, that, you know, he's quiet, he kind of keeps to himself. But he said, I want to see him kind of come out of his shell, and maybe that will help give him some confidence and get him going, because last year just wasn't able to really show much of his offensive ability.
Well, when you're a kid getting called up to the big league level during the year, you're going to keep your mouth shut, you know, really, and watch everything that goes on. So it may take a while, but I know exactly what Terry's saying. This is a big, strong right-handed hitter. And, boy, they could use some of the damage in his bat that he can do to a baseball. But he's at a position where there's a logjam, first base.
Yeah.
What would he be? First base DH. Guess what? Got him.
Well, I don't want to. I know this sounds harsh, but the only way he's really going to get an opportunity is if somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, he is right now roadblocked, as you say. So, but as coaches always tell players, look, those decisions are out of your hands.
Yeah, you just, all Johnny Mack said it this afternoon, stay ready. You never know. You know, you could be in a bad situation in an organization as far as roadblocks go, which he is. But that's not saying he's not going to get a chance maybe for a 2-week period this year or more. Who knows? You don't know. But when you do get that chance, or when we say, the door cracks open a little bit, when it does, if you get that crack, you've got to run through it. You can't let it close on you because the opportunity may not come back again.
Carlos Moncrief has swung the bat well today, 2 for 2. He doubled and scored the Tribe's only run back in the 2nd. He singled his last time up. First lefty-lefty matchup today for Moncrief, facing David Holmberg, who retired 5 in a row before the hit by Aguilar. And Moncrief is a perfect 3 for 3. He'll send Siriaco toward third. The throw is cut off. Indians at the corners with 2 down here in the 6th.
Moncrief swinging it well. Third hit of the afternoon. So they keep the inning going with 2. It'll give Tyler Holt another opportunity. Let's take a look at Moncrief today. 3 for 3. First one. Gets the double. Then a little broken bat, but it finds a hole. It's your day, baby. And continues it with a base hit to right off the left-hander.
Well, we talked about it before. Carlos Moncrief, a former pitcher who's converted himself into an outfielder who's on the cusp of potentially getting an opportunity in the big league level. But one of the things Terry loves about spring training, and I'm sure the same could be said for Mike Hargrove and all the guys in that dugout, he loves to see the young guys get an opportunity and how they react. What do they do with these little chances that come along?
Well, they want to open eyes, and that's how you do it. You go out there and you perform well. And today Moncrief has opened some eyes, just going 3 for 3 and being at the right place at the right time. How about last year? He made that catch out in right field, didn't he? And they had that picture, I think it was in our game, where they had the shot of him who was running through a kitchen. The way it was painted on the wall, it was It was beautiful.
It literally looked like he caught the ball in somebody's kitchen. And it's in the Indians media guide, too. If fans get a chance to pick up the Tribe media guide wherever they're sold, there's a good picture just past Moncrief's personal page in the guide with that exact photo. Snap, throw over. First and third, 2 down. Tyler Holt 1 for 2 on the day. Checks a swing and it's out of play to the right.
See, your dad had a chance to make it out to Arizona today, huh?
Yeah.
He's out in the sunshine enjoying a little baseball.
I think there's a lot of folks from Ohio.
I see him down there. That was near the foul ball.
They'd love to escape this time of year.
It's a great time to escape.
Now the 1-2. Holt keeps trying to wear out that right side.
Staying alive. 2 strikes. Foul it off until you get something you like, and Tyler Holt doing just that.
Andy Siriaco, who came on as a pinch runner for Jesus Aguilar, is at third base. Carlos Moncrief at first. That's the tying and go-ahead run aboard for Cleveland. And a base hit into right field. That'll bring home Siriaco with the tying run. And Moncrief stops at second base.
That's what you call a good at-bat for Tyler Holt. I mean, he got a high breaking ball and just slapped it the other way after fouling. So, staying alive on a couple of pitches. He gets a look at that, a high breaking ball, and he just slaps it the other way. An easy pitch to go to the opposite field. That one was up, and it might even been out of the zone, but he ties the ball game up with a swing right there. It's now 2-2, so they do it with 2 outs, 3 consecutive singles by the Tribe.
So Tyler Holt punching one through, and the Indians with those 3 consecutive 2-out hits have tied it up. And Adam Moore with a chance now to deliver a tie-breaking hit. And a fastball in there for a strike from David Holmberg, who went 1-2-3 in the 5th and had 2 outs, nobody on here in the 6th before the 3 consecutive 2-out singles. Tied him up. And a count 0-2. Cincinnati this year will host the Major League Baseball All-Star Game.
Yeah, the Indians will make their trek to Cincinnati right after the break to play the Reds on a weekend series. But
there will be a lot of excitement in the Queen City for that big event, no question about it. Midsummer Classic Tuesday, July 14th in Cincinnati. And then the Indians will be there the 17th, 18th, and 19th. But it's an interesting year coming up for this proud franchise in Cincinnati. They slipped to 76 and 86 last year, finished 14 games out, 4th place in the division. After they went into the All-Star break just a game and a half out, but injuries really threw a monkey wrench into Brian Price's plans a year ago. And so a lot of folks wondering Where is Cincinnati right now? They've got some aging players. They've got some big contracts. Are they in a rebuild? Are they going to move some people this year?
They possibly could. If they're not in the hunt come All-Star break or trading deadline, they could move some big people or some names that are going to become free agents and try and rebuild and say, let's go. We're going to blow it up. Start all over.
Good at bat for Adam Moore. He draws a walk to load the bases with 2 down. And so now Eric Gonzalez will get a chance to bat with the bases loaded and 2 away. All of this started with 2 outs and nobody on base. Hey, the Cavs travel north of the border tonight, take on the Toronto Raptors. Boy, this is another back-to-backer. You know, this late in the year, you'd think there'd be less of those. Cavaliers live tips off coverage at 7. Then it's Fred and AC. All the action at 7:30 tonight on Fox Sports Ohio.
You're trying to say they're like day games after night games.
Yeah, I think they'd give those guys more of a break as the season goes on.
Well, they're going to play 81, and they have cut back on them this year.
All right, so here we go as Eric Gonzalez steps in and bounces one up the middle, but it's cut off by Falou, and he flips to DeJesus to end the inning. Indians leave him loaded. However, the Indians tie the game. Tyler Holt with an opposite field RBI single with 2 down, and we are knotted up at 2 apiece. All right, we're back here in Goodyear with the Indians and Cincinnati Reds tied 2-2. And as we move on now to the 7th inning, Nick Mirande will stay in for a 2nd inning of relief work. Boy, he looks sharp in the 6th. 1, 2, 3, back-to-back strikeouts. Matt Underwood, Rick Manning with you, and we're happy to be joined in the booth now by Ross Atkins, Indians Vice President, Player Personnel. So obviously this is an exciting time of year for you because not only are you looking at the overall organization and everybody involved, but so many of the young guys who you've watched develop through the years are getting opportunities, as I pointed out to Rick. Some of them are small, little samples, but each opportunity is big for these young guys, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is really exciting for me to come out here and watch this. Essentially, the guys who started the game today were in Columbus last year, and it could and hopefully will be a very big part of our future. I was actually just sitting next to Larry Dolan, and we were talking about the difference in a spring training and regular season game. And for these guys, there's probably not a whole lot of difference as far as their intention and focus is concerned. Maybe anxiety. Maybe the anxiety will be higher, as Rick can attest to better than I. But, you know, these guys are, you know, they're living their dream already.
How about that diving play in left field?
Nice play.
Destin Hood.
I think that was Audi. Sudiaco?
No, Destin Hood.
Oh, okay.
2 days in a row, he's made a heck of a play. Yesterday, he's up against the wall, this time charging in.
Yeah, coming in. Second nice play made by an outfielder. Ramsey made a nice diving catch coming in from center field. And you're right. These guys, they get the chance to catch the baseball, they're going to dive after and get dirty. Then why not?
And Ross, part of your job, I think, is really fascinating. Is it's not just the drafting and developing of young players, which has all of its unique challenges, but also guys like Destin Hood and James Ramsey and Nick Mirande, guys who have been with other organizations that you're saying, how can they maybe impact our organization when another team is maybe either ready to give up or just looking for a change of scenery?
No, it's actually an area where we've had a lot of success. I mean, from minor league free agents and trades. Casey Blake is a minor league free agent. Michael Brantley, Jan Gomes, the list is long. Corey Kluber, a lot of the core of our Carlos Santana, and trades that have traded, whether it was an A-ball or double-A or coming over as a triple-A player. That transition is huge. So any way that a player enters our system, enters our organization, we're always thinking about how do we make that transition smooth, and how do we make them feel as though they don't have to prove themselves when they get here. So, that happens all the time where a player all of a sudden, starting from scratch, doesn't have the comfort level of, I know all of the pieces and parts here. So we try to expedite that for him, for each guy, and you're absolutely right. That is another opportunity for us.
And it's got to be hard because of the movement, Ross, the 6-year free agents, and you get guys that are around. And, nowadays it seems like people are moving around from organization to organization more so than they ever have.
Yeah, I think, minor league talent, as, you guys have probably talked with Mark and Chris a lot about the Grady Sizemore trade is what it's called now, right? When that trade was made, no one knew who Grady Sizemore, Cliff Lee, and Brandon Phillips were. Now when trades are made for minor league players, maybe not every fan, but most fans know exactly who they are for. I think, the minor league talent and younger levels are much more valued and easier to identify than they were just 10 and 15 years ago.
Can you stick around?
Sure.
Another half inning coming up with Ross Atkins. Indians-Reds tied at 2. Two singles, one from each side of the plate. And for a switch hitter, one thing we've come to know, Rick, maintenance to maintain your swing from both sides of the plate. But he looks eerily similar.
Yes, he does. And I mean, today, left-handed, he gets a couple of knocks. Of course, he can play the defense. He's ready for the big league level defensively. And there's going the other way for his second hit of the ball game. And when you look at him from both sides of the plate, you're right. A lot of switch hitters will have different stances and things like that. But when you look at Francisco Lindor, and we'll show you a split screen at some point in time in the inning, Ross, you may be able to give us some, but he looks very similar from each side of the plate.
Yeah, he's a great athlete, and he works as hard as anybody. So I think, he, as you guys mentioned, it takes a lot of maintenance, and he works at it. And because of the athleticism, he's able to repeat things. I think the one thing for Francisco, that because he's so young, and he's also had most of his at-bats left-handed, he's actually more confident left-handed, and that sometimes gets in his way. He can get a little bit uphill because he's looking to drive the ball.
So you're saying his swing can get a little longer from the left side of the plate more so than the right?
Yeah, from time to time. I mean, he would tell you that. You know? So it's something that there's no doubt he's going to be able to manage.
Sure.
And I think that's just being as young as he is.
And I agree. He has just under 1,500 minor league at-bats, and that's usually what it takes before a guy's ready for the big leagues, isn't it? About 1,500 at-bats?
Yeah, those I would say that's a fair number and a fair amount of professional experience, but I would also say that's relatively quick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that have a lot more than that.
But I think that guy is going to be relatively quick. If it wasn't for the second half that Ramirez put together, he could be here now, I would think.
Yeah, he's a special player. And it's something that I've been fortunate to be around Mark Shapiro for my entire career, and his experiences in player development. He's always talked about getting every single last drop out of the minor leagues, which – a minor league player hears that and says, what does that mean? And then you and I know exactly what it means. I think Francisco knows what it means too, but it's all about not ever having to go back. So how do you not necessarily create what your challenges are going to be, but start to prepare for failure you haven't had, situations you haven't had, like not playing every day, or pinch hitting, or having to bunt more than you did regularly, hitting in a different spot in the lineup. And then, of course, the other distractions of the major leagues that are the media and the fan attention and the bigger ballparks. But
that third deck has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
Well, I think that's an interesting concept that you brought up because, Terry Francona said to me earlier today, I asked him about Lindor and about that, finishing of a player. And he said, we're developing players not to get to the big leagues, but to help us win at the big leagues. So you don't want that guy going up and down, ideally.
Right. And it's a huge challenge for us because you're watching a guy perform, you're seeing athleticism, you're seeing speed, you're seeing agility, and you have to think of it as what is absolutely best for this player in his future, because that's also best for our future. But when it might help you win a game the next day, it's that delicate balance.
Mm-hmm.
But Jose Ramirez has been unbelievable, and I think that Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez will both be better for it as they push one another. Yeah. They pull for one another. They know each other well, and I think that's one of the great things about professional baseball, because you have to learn a very tough lesson early on that it's not going to do me any good to pull against the guy. I want him to raise my game to another level.
Yeah, competition within an organization is certainly better for that organization because it makes everybody better.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you about another guy in the player development system who's had an interesting path so far, and that's Carlos Moncrief, who was a pitcher who then converted to an outfielder. We saw his arm yesterday in right field, almost threw a guy out at home plate, the fastest guy maybe Hamilton. In baseball. Offensively today, he gets 3 hits, going 3 for 3. What does it say about him with everything he's been through?
You can see the smile on my face already, but he is such a good story because of how much he has persevered, how hard he's worked, and how much he's been willing to do anything and everything. Going to play winter ball, coming here and living here so that he can get physically in the best shape possible for each season, taking accountability on the nutrition side of things and really pushing the envelope there. But we talk about to our players all the time that there's old adages, right, that happen for a reason. There's cliches that happen for a reason. And the one that comes up all the time is, if I only knew then what I know now, right? And so we're constantly trying to get that. Here's a little bit. Let us, whether it be the experiences of Rick Manning, the experiences of Charlie Nagy for a pitcher, the experiences of a John McDonald. How do we help speed up that learning curve for these guys? And he is an example of someone that is learning things quickly and starting to apply the lessons that he's heard from so many other former players. And really, most notably, it's just been in him maximizing his athleticism. He is extremely strong. He's one of the strongest guys in our organization. He's fast. He has an incredible arm. He has raw power, and he's tapping into it.
Slowly chopped towards second base. De Jesus throws out Smith, 2 down. Well, it's good because it's an exciting time. There are so many young players. We could probably have you on the entire game because there are so many good, really young players.
Well, here's a guy walking up to the plate right now.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Giovanni Urshela, a guy that I've been on for a couple of years because I've been reading about him and we've seen glimpses of him. A little bit of a knee injury, but no restrictions in camp. And, I mean, defensively, is he a guy that we're looking for? Offense or defense is the next big hurdle for him to maybe make that push to the big leagues?
Well, defense is not a hurdle. He could play defense in the big leagues. And will he be better? Sure. He's going to continue to get better. But he is an exceptional defender. It's just something that comes relatively easy to him, but he works at it as well. Incredible hands, great arm slot, and accuracy with arm strength. You know, Joel Skinner said to me a long time ago, if a guy's comfortable and confident in his arm, he's going to be okay, and the hands and the actions will come because he's not going to panic. And he's always had that. Offensively, it's plate discipline. He has bat to ball. His bat to ball is so good, he gets himself out early. So he's really aggressive. He has raw power, and his plate discipline is improving. So that will be what separates him, but he's undoubtedly a major league player.
Well, thanks for stopping by, man, and we appreciate it. Not enough time as always, but hopefully we'll catch up again down the road.
All right, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Ross Atkins with us. 2-2 our score as we head to the 8th. Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Two-two as we go to the 8th inning. And the Indians have a new pitcher, Jeff Manship, who is 30 years old. And the Texas native has been a guy the Indians are familiar with because he came up with the Twins organization and was in the big leagues for a number of different years, parts of 3-4 different seasons with the Twins. Also spent time in the big leagues with the Colorado Rockies and last year with the Philadelphia Phillies. Line by Irving Falou in the left field, a base hit. Take a look at the Indians' defensive lineup now. Destin Hood in left, James Ramsey in center, Jordan Smith in right field. And you've got Giovanni Urshela at third, Michael Martinez at short, Ryan Rollinger at second, Audie Siriaco is at first, and Jake Lowry behind the plate. Soto a check swing, but he went too far.
That was their first hit since the first inning. You go back that single here leading off the 8th.
Yeah.
They had 3 hits out of their first 4 hitters, and that was their first base hit since the first.
Now, the Indians pitching had combined to retire 13 in a row before Tucker Barnhart was hit by a pitch in the 5th.
Right.
And then they retire the next 4 in a row before a walk.
And then they get the double play ball.
And the double play ball erased that, so they've played very well. Pop to right center. It's in the gap. Going to be a tough play, but there to make the running catch is James Ramsey. Covered a lot of ground.
That ball just stayed up, didn't it?
Sure did.
I mean, it gave him time to run underneath it. Wasn't hit all that hard. It was slicing away from him, but he caught up to it. Well, become a Tribe season ticket holder today with a 20-game package for as low as $199. That's you can get great seats, great prices, Tribe rewards, memberships, and more. Visit Indians.com season tickets for the details.
Lowry has it skip past him, and down to second base goes Falou. A little wild pitch. Tried to get down and smother it. So 1 on, 1 out. And Chad Wallach takes its 2-0. Wallach played at A-ball last year. His dad, Tim Wallach, played with the Dodgers, the
Montreal.
Expos.
Yeah. I think he's coaching third base now for the Dodgers and has been for a couple of years.
Swung on and missed. Wallach is a 23-year-old catcher. Played at Cal State Fullerton. Now in his 3rd professional season. Ran it in on him that time, did Manship. Jeff Manship, you want to talk about amateur career? You went to Ronald Reagan High School in Texas. Don't ask me where that's at, but he went 22-2 with an .064 ERA and 4 no-hitters, including a perfect game in his final 2 seasons of high school. And as we know, there's a lot of good high school baseball in Texas, so those numbers are just eye-popping, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are.
Went to Notre Dame, pitched collegiately for the Fighting Irish. Missed outside, and a walk. So Wallach goes down to first. 2 on, 1 out. And Jason Bourgeois to the plate. Bourgeois 5'9", 200-pound outfielder, 33 years old. He was born in Houston, makes his home there, so I assume when Michael Bourne was talking earlier about how he's known Bourgeois a long time, that's
there
probably
you go.
The connection all the way back to their days in Houston. In fact, I looked it up, they played Little League baseball together. So
wow.
He wasn't kidding
so
when
they
he
go
said he's
back,
known him a long time.
Yeah, they
right?
go back quite a ways. If you played Little League and you're at the big league level.
How cool is that?
That is very. Anybody you played Little League with and you're at the big league level together, that's very impressive. Coming out of the same town.
Anybody that you played Little League with that even made it to Pro Ball?
Not Little League, but in my high school league, yes. Yes, I would say, but not Little League, no. That's hard to do.
Oh.
I mean, when you think about it, what the odds are making it to the big leagues when you're a kid.
Well,
to have two kids coming out of the same Little League?
That's like one of my favorite stories is Joe Garagiola, who said, usually if you make it to the major leagues, you're the most famous person in your hometown. If not, you're at least the most famous person in your neighborhood. He goes, I wasn't even the most famous person on my street because Yogi Berra was my next door neighbor.
Yeah, that is a good story.
You know who else played Little League with those two? Bourgeois and Bourne? Carl Crawford. Did they have the corner on speed in East Houston? If there would have been a major league scout there, he'd have inked all three when they were 12 years old.
Yeah, trying to work a package deal. Yeah, that's incredible. 3 position players in the same Little League. And 2 of them have had very successful careers.
Bourgeois pops it up, and it'll be caught. 2 down. Yeah, for Jason Bourgeois, he's played a long time, but just spurts here and there.
Yeah, never been able to break through, and
he's never played a full season in the big leagues, but he's hung around a long time. Still chasing his dream. So with 2 down, and runners at first and second, big Kyle Waldrop to the plate. Swung on and missed. Last year, Waldrop was the minor league hitter of the year for the Cincinnati Reds organization. He hit .359 in A-ball, then went to Double-A and hit .315. Bounces that one foul. Two years ago, Waldrop hit 21 homers at Bakersfield, and that was second among all Reds minor leaguers. And a swing and a miss. Nice job by Jeff Manship to get out of trouble. Reds strand a pair. We go to the bottom of the 8th in Goodyear, still tied at 2.
Well, the Indians' 2015 promotional schedule is out and is highlighted by bobbleheads of Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber, manager Terry Francona, along with Jan Gomes jersey night. There's also fireworks, dollar dog nights, more events also to return for 2015. So visit Indians.com, get a list that look for on the event that you may want to attend and pick it up. Another full season of promotional nights out at the ballpark.
Raisel Iglesias signed in June of last year. Going to come on and face the Indians here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Iglesias out of Cuba, and a swing and a long fly ball by Audie Siriaco onto the warning track. It's pulled down in deep left by Bourgeois for out number 1. Carlos Moncrief. Last year he made this running catch. And there was a freeze frame photo of that.
There it was on this ball game that we televised. How about that?
And it looked like
right into your kitchen.
He was literally in somebody's kitchen playing ball. Well, today he's done some damage with his bat. 3 for 3, a double, and the Indians' first run scored back in the 2nd. And if you missed it, Ross Atkins, Indians Vice President of Player Personnel, told us earlier that Moncrief has put in a ton of work when he converted from pitcher to outfielder. He lives here in Arizona, so he's at the facility in the offseason working hard, trying to squeeze every ounce of this opportunity. And I think the only problem for Rick, a guy that converts, is that time lost on the clock.
Well, yeah, it's tough enough to do it when you're when you're an everyday player and you get drafted. Look at this guy, 4 for 4.
Beautiful day for Moncrief.
It really is. I mean, it's tough enough to make it, but you're right, when you're a pitcher and then you have to play catch up. But, I feel sorry for him because you know what? He's a left-handed hitter, and the Indians have a boatload of left-handed bats. Well, I'll tell you what, puts another good swing on the ball. He is 4 for 4 today, so a great afternoon for Moncrief. See if they can bring him around to score.
Destin Hood will get a chance to bat for the first time today, taking over for Tyler Holt, who went 2 for 3 with a couple of singles and a run batted in. Well, you have Moncrief, who's a converted pitcher to outfielder, and on the mound you've got Raisel Iglesias, who is a converted shortstop into a pitcher. And he's 25 years old.
I think you see the conversion going from a position player to a pitcher more than you see pitchers going to, everyday players.
I would agree with that, yeah. We've seen, Rafael Betancourt immediately comes to mind,
right.
Shortstop who converted to pitcher. If you've got a great arm.
Yeah, which guys do, outfielders that, that can throw the ball through a wall, and they say, okay, well, you can't hit, you're allergic to lumber, we're going to try and put you in the middle of the diamond because you can throw the ball so hard and you got a great arm and you're blessed. We'll see if you can develop into a pitcher.
Raisel Iglesias, though, left Cuba in November of 2013. Ball's in the dirt, down to second.
Good job.
And in the scoring position is Moncrief.
That's just a heads-up play. Moncrief's not a guy that can that has blazing speed, but I know Sandy Alomar at first base says anytime you see a ball in the dirt, go. And that's exactly what happened. He didn't hesitate. He put his head down. That ball didn't get that far away from the catcher. But you put the pressure on him, you make him throw you out. And that's where the extra bases come in. That's a big play that can help you out throughout the course of a year if you do it consistently as a team. You get the extra base. It's a tie ball game, 8th inning. You're now in scoring position, and you have 2 shots at it now.
And Hood, with 2 strikes, fouls it back out of play. And also, if I'm the hitter, Rick, all of a sudden I go from a guy in first base. Now he's in scoring position. Now your intensity raises up a little bit, too.
Now you get, you get a risk, but a runner in scoring position, and that focus really zones in now, trying to drive him home on a close ball game.
Fastball, strike 3 called. He just froze him. That was a perfectly located pitch. And so now there are 2 down. Raisel Iglesias is rated as the 2nd best prospect in the Reds organization. The Reds signed him to a 7-year contract. We'll see how quickly he can make it to the big leagues. One ball and 1 strike as Jake Lowry tries to snap this 2-2 tie in the 8th inning. Missed outside with the off-speed pitch.
Trying to thread the needle. The first 2 pitches on the outside part of the plate, a little sinking fastball. Nailed the corner with one of them, then came in with a backdoor breaking ball and just missed.
That fastball took off. 3-1. The 3-1 pitch is up and away. Ball 4. So now 2 on with 2 out. And Ryan Rollinger to the plate.
You know, you got to wonder, he's looking in the on deck circle and seeing a right-hander on deck. If he just didn't want to pitch around him once he missed with that 1-1 pitch.
And he misses inside for ball 1.
Yeah, home plate moving around on him a little bit right now.
Been a lot of Cuban players who have had an impact on Major League Baseball in recent years, and sadly in recent days the great Minnie Minoso passed away.
Yeah.
He started his career with the Indians and then went to Chicago and had tremendous success. Played till he was, what, 50 years old, I think.
Oh, he played in, I think, 5 different decades, if I'm not mistaken. He wanted to come back in DH, and they wouldn't let him after. I'm trying to remember what year it was, but what an ambassador to the game for the White Sox organization, for the city of Chicago, just like Ernie Banks, who passed earlier when we were in fantasy camp in January.
Slowly chopped
Run
towards
it hard.
short. Flew it in.
Oh, my goodness.
It gets through, and the Indians take the lead as Moncrief alertly comes home.
Almost like he was blocked out, where as a third baseman you try to get it, the shortstop you're coming on, and it just went under the glove as they were converging on it, and that ball at least should have been on the infield. It gets underneath, and the Indians score the go-ahead run. He's jammed, so the pitcher makes his pitch, and look at, they're converging, and the third baseman sort of blocked out Falou as he was going over there. Looked like Soto sort of blocked him out, and the ball got underneath his glove. So a big error right there is going to cost the Cincinnati Reds a run.
Kind of like in hockey where you get a little traffic in front of the goal and it screens the goalie. So Rollinger able to Bang one through, and the Indians have a 3-2 lead here in the bottom of the 8th. And James Ramsey, who ground out his only time up at the plate.
Check it out from the side. Soto's going over there. Here comes the base runner. He gets in the way, and then he goes down and then pulls his glove back up, and he blocked out Falou. And he never got his glove down. I don't know if he saw the baseball or not, but a really weird play right there.
Upstairs, 3-0. And this being spring training, I'm sure there'll be conversations when they come off the field about, hey, if you're the third baseman, you're going that far. You've got to let the shortstop take it, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, there's a play. You're not going to get to it. You have to peel off before too long. And even if they don't get the out at first base, they keep the ball in the infield and the run doesn't score.
Well, here's a walk to Ramsey, and now the bases are loaded. And Raisel Iglesias going to get a visit from the Reds dugout as Michael Martinez will bat with the bases loaded and 2 down, and the Indians now leading it by a score of 3-2.
Yeah, and you figure Iglesias is now upset because he felt he made a good pitch, which he did, and he doesn't get the third out of the inning. Not only that, but they do score a run, so he walks the next guy, and they're just trying to settle him down, say, hey, come on, not your fault.
And it looks like some of the infielders are talking to Iglesias, saying, hey, look, that wasn't your fault. That was our mistake. We'll pick you up.
My bad. Well, yeah, you're bad, but my run. It's not your.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned, Rick, Iglesias from Cuba, but the Cuban import that's made the biggest waves this offseason was Yohan Moncada, who signed with Boston. And they outbid the Yankees by a lot. And it just makes you wonder.
The signing of the Cuban players now is really getting carried away. Well, the Diamondbacks got one, Tomas, who signed $58 million.
It makes you wonder, do they need to rehaul the entire system?
Absolutely.
Because if I'm the number 1 pick in the draft, I can only make so much.
Right, you're slotted.
And yet this kid's coming out of Cuba with all respect to him, but why is he able to sign for that?
They have to fix that. You talk about things having to get worked out, they have to have one draft. And yes, and if they're going to be slotted, you got to be slotted for everybody, no matter where they come from.
In the dirt, gets away from Wallach. Coming home from third is Moore, and he will score. And the Indians' lead is now 4-2. So, boy, the one thing we talked about that the Indians were hoping to improve this spring and going into the year, defense, and it's been defense that has cost the Reds here in this inning.
Yeah, and there's a breaking ball out in front of the plate, but it ricochets off Wallach and gets by him. He thought he had his body in front, so the Reds have given the Indians a pair of runs in this 8th inning. And, we see it all year long. When you make mistakes, teams seem to capitalize on it, and it goes to show you it can cost you ball games. You look bad doing it, but you give 27 outs. Any more than that, there's a good chance that you're going to pay for it, even if it is spring training or not.
Michael Martinez thought it was ball 4. Instead, it's strike 2 and a full count. Base hit right here could really improve the Indians' odds of winning this one. Instead of fly ball to left, Bourgeois makes the catch. Cincinnati's defense opening the gate for the Indians to charge through. A miscue between third and short, and a wild pitch has the Indians up 4-2. Stay tuned after the game for Drennan Live with Bruce Drennan. He'll take calls and talk to you about today's ball game. Baseball is back. Bruce is ready to roll right after the game here on Sports Time Ohio. I'm sure he'll want to talk about the performance of T.J. House, who was impressive today, and some other good arms out of that Indians bullpen. CC
Carlos Moncrief,
Nick Miranda,
4 hits, scored a couple of runs.
Yeah, Moncrief just tremendous at the plate today. Will Roberts will try to close this one out for the Indians. I'm thinking, so defensively too, Destin Hood 2 days in a row, he's made a nice play out in the outfield. James Ramsey made a nice play in center field.
No, the pitching was very good for the Indians today. I mean, Josh Tomlin started the game. 3 out of the first 4 hitters had hits. They had a 2-0 lead, and they didn't give up but 1 single after that. So the pitching's been pretty darn good too.
Meanwhile, the Indians have banged out 10 hits. Will Roberts getting the opportunity here today to pitch in the 9th inning. Good fastball outside corner. Roberts, a Virginia native, was a 5th-round pick of the Indians back in 2011. Made it to Double-A last year, where he went 12-12 in 27 starts. A little bit low. Full count. Swing and a miss, strikes him out. 1 down in the 9th. T.J. House was probably, I don't think there's any question, he was the most impressive Indians pitcher today, Rick.
Well, he did it in a hurry. Boy, he got up, he threw strikes, and boy, he had to go out to the bullpen when he was done after his 2 innings of work. He was on, what, a 35-40 pitch mark, and get his extra work out in the pen, but he was pounding the strike zone. Typical House, moving it in and out, changing speeds. Did a wonderful job today.
And a strike called to Felix Perez. Outside. Roberts pitched 3 years at the University of Virginia before the Indians made him a 5th-round pick. You know, last year in Akron, 20 out of his 27 starts, he gave up 3 runs or less. Big hopper, too short, and Martinez throws him out. Just under 3,000 here in Goodyear today for the 2nd spring training matchup between Cleveland and Cincinnati. And they'll play one more time tomorrow before they move on to face some new blood. Fresh meat.
Getting out of the complex.
Yeah. I think the Indians are still home on Friday, though.
Yeah.
Their first road game won't be till Saturday. Ramon Cabrera, the last hope for Cincinnati to keep it alive. Right back to the screen. Roberts pitched 161 innings last year, and that led the Eastern League in innings pitched. And the 0-2 pitch up high. Of course, their minor league season's a month shorter than the big leagues.
It's a lot shorter, so that's a pretty good number, I think, for minor league pitchers. And you said 27 starts, and in 20 of them,
3 runs or less.
3 runs or less. That's pretty impressive.
Swing and a miss. Roberts with a couple of strikeouts. The Reds go 1-2-3. He saves it for the Tribe here in the ninth. And the Indians get their first spring win with a 4-2 victory over the